Now let's turn first, though, to the race for the Republican presidential nomination. Breaking news this morning, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has suspended her campaign for president after a big defeat on Super Tuesday. This sets up a likely rematch between former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden. Both are closing in on the required delegate count to secure their party's respective nomination. Haley, however, did not endorse Trump today during her remarks.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing.
His time for choosing. CBS News campaign reporters Olivia, Rinaldi, and Nidia Cavazos joined us now. Olivia has been following the Trump campaign very closely. Nidia has been doing the same for Nikki Haley's campaign. Nidia, let's begin with you. Haley's the headline today. Where does she go from here?
That's the question that we're all asking. What happens next to Nikki Haley? And as far as today, we can say she's definitely out of the race now. And with this decision, this means we're officially kicking off the general election season. But as far as Nikki Haley, she's been saying that she doesn't want to completely step out of the picture. She's going to continue to be a voice for what she truly defines as the essence of the Republican Party. She's going to continue to express her opinions and vouch for that. Now, of course, we know that during her formal announcement today, she was suspending her presidential bid. She left with congratulating former President Donald Trump, but stopped short of endorsing him. And we know from talking to some of Haley's allies and her campaign that it is possible that, she's still thinking about this endorsement. And we don't know to this date if we're going to be hearing from a potential endorsement in the upcoming days or upcoming weeks. Of course, there's no necessary timeline for her.
Olivia, there's a lot of tough talk among many Trump allies about Nikki Haley might as well just come around eventually and endorse Trump. And there's not really seemingly a push to secure her endorsement anytime soon. But is there a concern inside the Trump orbit that eventually they're going to have to make a concerted effort to reach out, if not just to her, but to her voters?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bob. I mean, we heard Trump back in January talking about Nikki Haley voters and saying, we don't want them in our movement. We don't want them in our party. But striking a different tone last night at Mar-a-Lago, even though he didn't mention Haley by name, he said he's interested in unifying the Republican Party. He means all Republicans going forward, making sure the entire party is really in lockstep and working towards re-electing Trump in November for a second term. But really, there's this broader effort to coalesce the party around him. But it is notable that this morning in his statement, he trashed Haley, said that she was horrible on Super Tuesday and that she got trounced, and then said, but I'll take some of her supporters if she'll have them. So it's really this balance that they're weighing right now. But there should be some concern. There were several states where Haley had edged ahead of Trump, and including in Vermont, where people like independents can vote. Those are crucial people that Trump is going to need come next November to vote for him. So perhaps an effort we should see in the next coming weeks to really welcome in some of those Haley voters that have been kind of cast aside by Trump's rhetoric and his actions.
Nidia, you haven't just been covering the Haley campaign and the candidate, you've been covering Haley voters. And it was so interesting to me last night to see the exit polling data from CBS News that showed so many of her own supporters have real reservations about supporting Trump down the line. Where do you believe, based on your reporting, the Haley voter in South Carolina and elsewhere is going to go? Are they going to stay home, think about supporting Trump, maybe even support President Biden? Because we saw the president explicitly today reach out to Haley's voters.
Yes, and it's really interesting to see that both President Biden and former President Donald Trump are both asking for the support of Haley. And this is because essentially they can go both ways. And I've noticed from covering Haley from the early voting states, when we started in Iowa and New Hampshire, for example, we would see a lot of voters who were conservative, were registered Republicans, and who had no doubt whatsoever that they were going to be voting for the Republican nominee. If it wasn't Haley, given that they were attending her events, they were clear supporters, they were willing to vote for for Donald Trump. But as we transcended into the campaign year and we followed Haley through other states, including the Super Tuesday states, this is when we began to see a variety of voters with different opinions. There was many that were expressing that they flat out would not vote for Donald Trump. They were Republicans, but they were not going to vote for him, and neither were they going to be voting for President Biden. And so what many that I came across were saying was that simply they were going to be sitting this election out. So this is what we're facing, that we're also going to be facing the problem that exactly how many voters are actually going to turn out and support either candidate when they're not necessarily favoring one or the other. But it is important to note that this changes a lot from state to state. In South Carolina, even as conservative as many Republicans could be that were supporting Haley, many of them were saying we're willing to vote for President Biden so long as the fact that we don't have to go and live a second Trump administration.
And Olivia, quickly, I think back to history, 1980, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, bitter rivals in 1980, but he ultimately put one of his rivals on the ticket as his running mate. Is there any talk among your Trump sources about, look, it's been a brutal fight against Haley, but maybe she should be in the mix for VP?
You know, never say never with Donald Trump. There's plenty of people that he went against in 2016 that he then brought into the fold later. I'm thinking Dr. Ben Carson is someone like that. So never really say never, but there's a lot of bad blood between Nikki Haley and the Make America Great Again movement. I would be having a hard time seeing some of those supporters welcoming her back in, if not for Trump himself.
It's interesting. I heard from a Trump source last night that Ben Carson might be on the VP list, someone who's going to be vetted in the coming months. We'll see what happens. Olivia, Rinaldi, and Nidia Cavazos, thank you so much for your reporting and excellent work in the last few days and months.